Hey, good morning, everybody. Uh, Gonna do another live stream today. I did one yesterday and turned out rather disappointing because some sort of a bug in OBS prevented the screen from showing when I had my composite scene selected. So uh, I am going to double check to make sure that it's streaming out correctly after I switch over here today. So we don't have a whole stream of you guys just looking at my face for no reason at all. So, second, I'm going to switch over here and then we're going to jump to YouTube and I'm going to take a look here. And if any feedback loop comes through because of this, I apologize in advance. Because of this, I apologize in advance. Okay, cool. Looks like the desktop is showing this time. So we're already off to a better start than yesterday. All right, guys. So those of you that did stick around for that mess of a stream last week, or not last week, yesterday, we got the input controller all the way through the device wrapper, the mapping loop, all the way out to the output device. All that's been switched over to the new dictionary. Oh boy, we are off to a good start. Means I need more coffee. Anyways, we got that entire process from input controller to output controller all switched over to the new dictionary lookup, as opposed to using fastmember for the strongly typed packets. And it all ran fine. It did look like it was eating up more CPU than it should have been, but further tests that I ran outside of Visual Studio showed that that CPU overhead was just because Visual Studio was inducing its own overhead. The actual test turned out to be very positive, even lighter and faster than the previous one, which is what I was expecting. I'll even launch it here. Grab the controller here just to test this out before we start breaking stuff even more again. I got to change this font color down here. So I don't know if it'll show through on the stream too well, what the CPU percentage is. Okay, so there we go. We have DualShock 4 coming in and it's mapping out to a 360 controller. And you see, with the exception of a couple spikes go above 1%, we're mostly hanging down by 0, 0.4, 0.7. There's one up to 0.1 something. And a lot of those ones that go over 1 is because there is every 3 seconds, it's going out and searching for new controllers. So that's the only reason that's doing that. The actual mapping loop takes up almost no overhead at all. And as a result, everything just feels a little bit more snappy to me. So we are off to a good start, going in the right direction here. Now, what we're going to work on today is the channel selection drop-down box. We got to start tying the UI into this completely new way of identifying all these channels and device states and all that stuff. Because right now, I don't even know what'll happen if I try to pull it up now. It'll probably be empty because I don't know if it even populates the classes that it builds off of right. Oh, okay, it is still populated. Oh, I guess because those objects still exist, they just aren't used anymore. So yeah, this is going to have to be redone, at least from the back end code side, how it gets populated. And then I don't know if we're going to get into it today, but after that, the next steps are to start scrapping all of this. This is too much for me to expect people to understand and do for every single mapping if they just want to map, button A to button B. They shouldn't get bombarded with a screen like this. So my plan is to break pretty much all of this stuff that you see down here. We're going to keep the source and destination channel. That's it. Everything else is going to be broken out into plugins. So what they will do, the plan is when they select a mapping override, they will get an option for a source channel and a destination channel. That's it. And then there will be another button where they can add some sort of I haven't decided on the vernacular yet, but some sort of like a layer in between the source and destination. They'll be able to add something. They'll be able to select from a list what they want to do with it, whether it's reverse the channel, toggle it, turn it into a toggle, add a sensitivity, dead zone curve, a value to it, something like that. They'll be able to select that from a list, and then it'll pop in there as a layer, and they'll be able to stack as many of those in there as they want. And I want to make it all plugin driven. And those of you that have used the ODIF framework that I built about 2 years ago, that's part of Input Mapper 2.0, which is a completely separate fork. You'll know that I did something similar to that, just really poorly implemented in the UI, so it was kind of confusing to people. But you were able to take that input channel and throw in a bunch of like blocks. They could be either logic or action blocks or anything like that, and it can convert the value as it goes down the chain towards the output device. So we're going to do something similar, only hopefully a lot more UI friendly, because this mapping window for every single channel that you want to map is intimidating, to say the least. But that's the future goal. Actually, that's probably like next week's goal, maybe. But today we just want to get that source and destination drop-down box to feed off of the new attributes that we're using that define all these channels and all that stuff. So what we have here is our channel states. I created an attribute here where you define the device channel. You use the generic name as kind of the anchor, what it'll always be referred to, and then you can set its display name, the icon, the description, and I'm debating whether or not I want to throw a channel type in there just so we know beforehand if it's a double or a bool or anything like that. I don't know. Matter of fact, yeah, I might as well do that now. To the interface as well. It's left. not a compile time constant? Interesting. Okay, so forced to define the type. If I do this. That's public. All right, so that means when I do stuff like this, I will have to I think I want an icon after the type. Okay, so we gotta put type all the way at the front. Makes sense though. We're gonna have to change this around just a tad. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So down here, this is just our sample class. That channel will be a bool. And that's pretty much how that'll work throughout the application. So that gives the function that I'm about to write here some insight as to what it can expect that channel to be at compile time. It won't need to know it, or it won't need to wait until runtime when that value is initialized to see what type it is. So what we need to do is we need to implement this a couple places just so we have some test data to play with as we build out our method. I believe I started in the DualShock 4 input plugin doing that already. Could be wrong. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So there we go. We got 4 channels defined. Of course, I have to go through and populate all the other ones, but this will give us enough to play with. And of course, we got to rebuild this plugin to make sure it's actually there. All right, now that drop-down box is populated off of an object that is created during the startup phase of the application. Scroll up. Device, state, channel. So basically, in the old version, this would go through the entire application, including all of the loaded plugins, it would search through for device classes in there, and it would build that selection list based on the device state classes that it found and the channels therein. Obviously, we are going in a slightly different direction now. The first thing I should do is good question. What is the first thing I should do? All right, so this is going to go through all the types in the device state types, but we aren't going to filter by iDevice state anymore because you can apply those attributes to any class. This makes me wonder if I want that to be a thing. Let's go back and look at the DualShock 4 device. We could have it so you only apply these to the actual interface that is the iInput device, as well as the iOutput device. Does this inherit off of a common type? Nope. Should it? See if there's any commonality there as there is in our iOutput device. Output device. All right, so let's see. We have icon. So all we have is icon. So icon would be a commonality. So all right, yeah, let's do it. We'll create a common interface that those inherit off of. And that's what we will use to look for our channel building information. So icon. That's all we really need. So that takes care of the input. Now we just need to do this same to the output. We get rid of the duplicate icon. Okay. This is legacy. We don't use that anymore. I don't even know if we use the it anymore. Because I think you can do that on the constructor now. Output device. I will have to see if that's something that uses. Init. Not implemented. Okay, cool. So I can scrap that out of the interface. While we're here, we might as well do some cleanup, right? Let's take a look at the input. Anything I need to scrap? Oh, we got another init. It's on the input device. Let's see if we really use that for anything. We do. Okay, and I think that's because we want these devices to start later. We want to load them early, but start them late. until everything else in the application loads. So that's fine. We'll leave that. But otherwise, okay, now we have a common type here, iDevice. Back to our startup shutdown, pin that. All right. Okay, this is seeing. Let's see what our device state info looks like. I might want to. This is the actual class that I turn it into that we build. That we pretty much bind directly to that UI. So let's make any tweaks that we need here first. Channel name we need, the display name we need. Icon's a good thing to have in there. The device state type, I don't think we need that anymore because we're not. Yeah, no, I don't think we care about that anymore. This is the device. Maybe we do. I think maybe I'm using that to make sure we only load each one once, despite its name. Here, we have the parent. I think that's just used to filter. Name, display name, icon, and I think we want to add the type. String. I think otherwise that'll work. There's some minimal changes needed there. What we are going to have to change here is get attribute. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that because we got to turn that into an object. I have no idea if I set this up to work well with objects. Oh, yeah, it's definitely not going to work with this because our new attribute can be defined as an array. There can be multiple ones. I forget pattern, looking that up. So we're going to turn to the all trusty Google. Stack Overflow. Okay. I got some code here, a sample on Stack Overflow that I think I can modify to my needs. What I think I want to do is I turn it to an overload, just like I do with these. Channel states. Customization info, believe. And I can apply this. Can I do an put on an interface or an extension on an interface? Okay, maybe, possibly, we'll see. We'll slap in the code that I found there. So what do we got here? So first we got to get the attributes from type. Data, same thing. I think I like that block of code. have here? Attribute type. Okay, so what we can do, I believe, that should leave us with just a list of the channel customization info, which we can just straight up return. It's turning out easier than I thought it might be. And again, famous last words. And this will just kind of catch any null. What'd I do wrong? Oh. Now what did I do wrong? Custom attribute data. I need to cast that. I don't know what I do with that. Do I cast that to channel customization instead of custom attribute data? Instructors. I should just be able to cast it. Seems like, despite the fact that it it doesn't look like it's a compatible type. Cast. Okay. At least it's not saying there's an error. See if that's okay. Go back over to our startup and shutdown. All right, so now what we do. Geez, okay. Okay, all this still looks good. Okay. Custom name, custom icon. Okay, all this stuff still stays relevant, it looks like. Now, down here, this is where we're used to be pulling in the channel information. Now we are going to be getting it from, instead of type get properties, it is going to be type get, the heck did I call it again? Crap. Yeah. Get channel customization info, and that only applies to iDevice, so I might have to cast it. Oh, okay, because that's just a type. Right? Not an instance. Okay. Man. So that extension method I wrote would only work if it's called on an instance of a type and not a type itself. Because of this and because of this. So it's kind of hoping to have it only apply to iDevice interfaces, and the only way I can do that is if there's an instance. But I don't want to create an instance of every interface because it might not necessarily be tied to something that I want invoked. So change this around a little bit. And we get type anymore. So now we go back to startup shutdown. Channel customization info. Okay. Yes, it's a method. Now, as expected, everything here breaks. fine. Prop anymore, so let's change that so I don't get confused down the line. Let's go ahead and pepper that change around. Even though I know I still got to go back and change some of these property names because I think I was using lowercase. Really not have a regular name in there? What's going on? Display name. Don't have regular name in. Oh, crap. I'm using the wrong type. We went to find device channel. So we probably got to change our extension method. Back over here. Okay. Should have name. Oh, okay, it's just called channel here. Blah. Property. Okay, still see an error around here somewhere. Where? Oh, missing. There. Okay. This actually might work out of the box. Though now that I see this and that it changes the icon based on the type, I wonder if I should. Okay, right now it says it's fine with me. I can add a little bit of logic to detect or if it's none. None isn't the same as null, though. Changed my mind. Change mind. I want to let this be null. Can you have a change my mind again? Changed. Actually, this doesn't even. Now it doesn't because it used to be tied to attribute. Now we can do this. Okay. I think I'm happy with that. Now, I didn't set up the custom name or custom icon on that device, but I sort of want to see how this behaves if I don't do that. Actually, I should be running this in debug in case I do throw an error. I can think of that. Which it looks like we probably did because we're just kind of sitting here spinning our tires. So. Let's see what happened. Alright. Unable to cast. Is it because... Okay, I don't know why I'm using data. Do I even need to... have an overload where I can just choose the type I want? A lot of them do. There's 3 overloads, so let's see. Yep, attribute type. Cool. I don't even need this anymore. I am. So we can get rid of the where. Plural. Attributes. Okay. Alright, let's try that again. It's promising. Now we want to see what that drop-down box looks like. Okay. We have the 4 channels that we set up. And we have the various devices that implement that interface. Now, what we need to do is, because we have a DualShock 4 input plugin, a DualShock 4 output plugin, we need to tell it to merge devices like this. Because the device state is going to be shared between the two. So that's just for UI cleanliness. We also need to tell it to skip the actual just interfaces. So I device, I input device, I output device, these 3 should not be here because they are just flat out interfaces. Yeah, other than that, baseball. That's way easier than it should have been. Wow, okay. We're making good progress today. But yeah, okay, let's start filtering out. We're going to go to start on shutdown. And that's going to be in this. And if I remember correctly, there is an option where we can just skip interfaces, but I don't know if we want to do that. Okay, what are we doing? We're getting types here. I can just manually omit the ones that I think we should be skipping. What am I doing here? It's not even close to the right syntax. T is a type already. Howdy, demon. All right, let's just run that to make sure. That should make sure that iDevice is not in that drop-down list anymore. If that's true, we can apply that to our other two interfaces. All right, and it's gone. So we can do the same thing here. All right. So I believe there's an easier way to do that. Actually, yeah, we'll just leave it like this. That'll make sure we guarantee to get those three types that I don't want in there out. The next part is to merge like types. And that's what this is supposed to be doing, but it doesn't seem to be doing it right. I think it's because of this get type attributes. I think if we set a custom name on those types, then they will merge. Otherwise, it's using the full type name. Oh no, because even the yeah, that's a simple type name. Did I have a differentiation in the camel casing or something of those types? Maybe that's why it didn't pick them up as the same. Yes, I do. The S is capitalized in one of them and not in the other. It does make a difference in programming. I think the S is supposed to be lowercase. I think that's how the DualShock is written. That's all capital. I'm just not sure if that's on the input. The output. There it is. It's on the input. Okay, let's see if that breaks anything in the enumerator. Nope, that should be it. Did miss something. What? Hold on, why is this trying to compile direct input device? Did I click the wrong thing? Oh, okay, the errors are down here. Gotcha. Thank you. build succeeded. Okay. Those types should be merged now. Bingo. Cool. So now it's just a matter of the tedious task of going through all these devices and redefining the channels using the new method. Because, yep, this works as expected. Cool. I'm happy about that. Looks good to me. So the going through and defining all the channels, that's going to be pretty monotonous. No reason to drag you guys through that. It looks like everything is working here. Let's see, this is now single channel, correct? Make sure the map, oh, didn't take the source. Okay, yeah, that could be a naming convention issue because it used to be an array, now it's a singular. So we're gonna go ahead. Where's that located? Control resources. Mapping collection. Source column. Source. Mapping source. Okay. That should fix that little source missing in the UI there. There it is. Cool. All right. Looks good. So it's going to be the biggest pain in the butt, but it turned out to be pretty straightforward and simple. So I'm happy about that. That means I can start populating the rest of these device channel informations in and probably spend the rest of this week working on the new mapping UI where, like I mentioned earlier, I want to break these things out into actual like plugins so you can either apply to the mapping or not, depending on your needs, so you don't get this big old cluttered window. So, all right, that's going to do it for today, guys. This is also pretty much the check-in video. Or actually, I don't know, nobody wants to watch this hour-long thing. I might make a short little recap as our check-in video. But, all right, guys, have a good one.